Hello, people. Sorry I'm late. I was trying to plant. Oh, you can't see. I was trying to plant some cat grass or chicken fodder, same thing. I think for Memo, but it looks like there are some bugs in here because some of the kernels are like they got holes in them. I'm not sure what's eating through the seeds. I probably should have refrigerated them, but I'm gonna go ahead and plant some, and then I can show you the kitchen cart that mostly works, but is definitely wonky and took over 10 hours for me to assemble. I also did a shopping trip just now. I went to Lidl and got some canned fish and yogurt and avocados, and then I went to a Chinese supermarket and they had 5 pairs for $1, so I got 15 of those. And then the kabocha squash was on sale for 39 cents a pound, so I got a kabocha squash. So I can show you my haul. But I don't know if you can see, but like I'm really exhausted. I was not expecting to be this exhausted. So bear with me if I feel sluggish. I might need to take a sit. And yes, Karen, if you look on the community post tab, I posted some email interactions with the company. They tried to give me a partial refund for 40. I said no. They said, how about half, which is 55? I said no, please refund me the whole thing. I don't want this. And they were like, okay, we'll give you a whole refund and you don't have to return it. So since I didn't have to return it, I might as well try to put it together. So that's what I did. You know, it came with a lot of styrofoam. I didn't want to go through the hassle of like posting it on Facebook or asking if someone wants these parts. So I got some screws. I bought some screws. I tried to get my hands on a electric screwdriver, but my super was not in at the time I needed it. So I just did it manually, which made me kind of sprain my right wrist. But it's together, and I can show it to you after I plant these seeds. Someone commented on my Instagram and was like, oh man, I really wanted to watch you put it together. And I was like, I know, but I kept banging my legs into all the planks that were just lying around. So when I had a day where work wasn't so intense, I was just like, you know what, let's just build it. And I thought about going live, but I could also sense about half hour into it that this was going to be a project that I would have to like take breaks from and like sit down and have a meal and then come back to it and then go write a piece of newsletter and then come back to it. So I didn't want to like have a 10-hour live, although I'm sure some of you might have enjoyed that. But it was really nice just sitting in the kitchen by myself. I think having 4 hands would have been great. I unfortunately only had 2, which meant that this thing probably could have been assembled in 2 to 3 hours if I had another person with me. But because I didn't have another person with me and I had all these joint issues, it was really hard kind of like holding pieces together while trying to get the dowels to match the holes and then also drilling in the screws before the dowels fell apart. So it got done, but I'm sorry I couldn't go live with it because I just didn't know how long it was going to take, and I didn't want the light pressure of an audience to observe my every move and mishap, and there were many. I had to go out twice for different screws because I went out, I got the screws that were missing, the 40 millimeter ones, which equated to about 1.57 inches. So I got a 1.5 inch box of screws. I came back and it turns out that one of those holes like would not let the screw go through. So unfortunately I went out and got another box of 2-inch screws, which worked great for ladder parts, but unfortunately I could not unscrew that first screw that wouldn't push through. So there's like a loose piece of board on the very bottom of this cabinet that isn't really bearing weight, it's just more of an aesthetic edge. And it's also got like 2 other nails coming in at it from other joints of the assembly. So I don't think it's at risk of like falling apart. But yes, it was very, very frustrating putting this thing together because all the parts didn't really perfectly fit, and there were a lot of broken things and a lot of missing parts, and I'm glad they refunded me. I think I would have settled for like an $80 refund, but I was so angry about how misadvertised this was because this original product name had solid wood in the name, and I was like, shit is crumbling in my hands. There's no way this is solid wood. This is a total misadvertisement. I just want my money back. Like, it just, but it's great. I learned a lot of things. Like, I learned a lot of things building things by myself. I think in the past, I bought a lot of IKEA furniture with Aaron. We always assembled it together. He was always, like, way more, I guess, equipped or learned about assembling furniture like this. So I always relied on him. But I think being on my own has been great in terms of just, like, having to figure out things for myself. And in the process, learning little techniques that can not only, reinforce future instances of skill sets like this, I can maybe like one day help someone else. I don't know, but I see a thick silver lining around this project, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad it's complete, and I hope it holds together and does not fall apart immediately. We'll see. Put my grass away. By the way, I've been ranting about my college a lot and how it's done a lot to crack down on student protesters, and a couple of weeks ago, on Labor Day last week, I went to a alumnus organized picnic meetup in Brooklyn, and I found out that this was not an official college event. It was not organized by the college. I found out that it was just this one student who really wanted to get all of us together who lived in New York City and or Brooklyn. And he had written to the alumni office about organizing this, and they basically hosted a sign-up sheet online for him to gather attendance. And while he was taking a photo of all of us gathered there for the alumni office, I guess to use in some capacity to show that, alumni still meet up after graduation and keep lifelong connections, I found out that they did not sponsor any food budget, apparently. Like, all the food that was there, which was just fruit and, little cakes and chips, were brought by the alumni who attended. All the alumni office apparently sent in were pins keychains, and a Ziploc bag of napkins. Like, I took this home because I thought it was hilarious that they would mail in a bag of Ziplocked napkins. But no food budget. So that's what my college is doing. Tuition is now over $90K a year for these students. They are cracking down horrendously on academic freedom, freedom of speech, protest rights, because it's a private college and technically on private property, they can set their own laws and the Constitution does not apply to them. So, yeah, that's great, right? Fun. Hilarious. What a world. All right. Shall we cook a little bit? Shall we cook a little bit? You know they're going to use us for advertising if we pose for a photo. Why else would the alumni office ask for a photo of alumni gathered in a park smiling with each other? You know they're going to try to capitalize off of that. But the law still applies to everyone. Well, I invite you to write into Swarthmore College and ask them why they're arresting their own students for simply putting up a tent on Parish Beach on the grass and holding sit-ins, so. The only cases that I've read about students winning a lawsuit against the college are instances of public colleges, city colleges, state colleges. I have not heard of any case being brought against a private institution that has been ruled in favor of the students. And just keep in mind that private institutions probably have a lot of money. Swarthmore has one of the highest endowments per capita in the United States. I think it's close to $1 million per student. They have billions in endowment. Actually, it might be $2 million per student. It's some outrageous number. So they have all that money to use to hire lawyers to litigate against students. As far as I know, the College Judiciary Committee proceedings are basically black box proceedings where the school hires outside litigators, lawyers, attorneys to come in and grill the students. Meanwhile, the students are not allowed to hire their own counsel, and also other students who submitted testimonies and evidence in support of the students on trial have been dismissed. Their evidence were dismissed on the grounds of being irrelevant, when it is very relevant from the point of view of students, faculty involved, and me and other alumni who have learned the details of these testimonies, which simply say, hey, I'm also a student who used these same protest tactics and I have not been disciplined. Why is this student being disciplined? So the law is there, but it is not applied equally, as we have come to know more and more clearly that is the case in all instances of power dynamics where the power is uneven and imbalanced. So for the alumni who still believe that the college has a moral conscience, I think they need to go through this passageway of understanding that no, the college has no conscience, because as soon as the Supreme Court ruled that corporations are people, no, corporations are maybe people by law, but they do not act with any moral conscience at all. And Swarthmore College, as a profiting entity that somehow lobbied the government successfully to drop their endowment tax down to 0% this year. It used to be 1.4, and under Trump's big beautiful bill, it was proposed that some colleges would increase that 1.4 rate up to 7 or 14%, and Swarthmore was terrified that it would be in that cohort of 14 to 21% tax, and So they teamed up with a couple of other colleges and like lobbied the hell out of the government and got away with 0% endowment tax. So they have the money to do that, but apparently they don't have the money to like give financial aid to students who are high needs, as they have been known to give great financial aid, which is why I went there. I went there because they covered most of my tuition. But that is no longer the case. And so if you guys know of any high school seniors, juniors considering applying to college, let them know that like a lot of colleges are showing their really ugly faces right now, and certainly my alma mater is not doing what it purports to do in terms of social justice and financial aid, despite its very high per capita endowment that it now no longer has to pay any tax on. So who the fuck knows what they're using that money for? And this is the power of knowledge by creating networks with people directly involved with campus, because none of this I would have learned had we not built up enough connections to actually talk to students on campus, to talk to faculty on campus, to learn from their point of view what's been happening, because the college sends out official statements that alumni are like, well, look, the college said the students did this, so of course you can't let the students do this. And I'm like, okay, what makes you think you can trust the college's words 100%? Like, are you sure you want to hand over your faith like that? And I think a lot of us are kind of being asked to step out of the fantasy that we've been fed for most of our lives regarding a lot of institutions. And maybe some people still have not, despite 2 years of seeing people just like bludgeoned on our phones. Somehow they still have faith in institutions. That boggles my mind. But I guess we all live in different layers of sheltering from reality. So, myself included. Alright folks, for dinner tonight, I'm very, very hungry. We have some leftover veggies that I'm going to cook into that H Mart cognac noodle packet that I bought and showed you last week. And so I'm just going to be throwing a shit ton of stuff in a pot. You know the deal. That's what I do. And then once we get some food in me, maybe I can feel less dead. My mental health is pretty good. 8.5, maybe 9, but my physical battery now is like 19% max. So I think I'm gonna look like I'm a 6 to a 6.5 to you. But I'm happy to be here, and thank you for being here, and happy Saturday, and you've made it another week. Yay. By the way, I don't know if this is true, but I saw on my Instagram feed, there's a lot of fake news going around, but somebody was, there was like a Japanese woman on a panel giving out tips for like good gut health, and they were like, yeah, the Japanese have this vinegar drink. You drink half an hour before you start your meals, and apparently it balances the pH in your gut, and it's good for you. So I have some beet pickle juice here. I'm just going to go ahead and dilute this a little bit and drink it. And look who's peeping. Look who's peeping at the corner of the door. There's no door, but you know. Hi, babes. I did take Memo for his health issues in January. I took him last August too when he bit me and scratched me and I had to go on antibiotics that I was allergic to make sure that my arm didn't fall off after he bit me. And then I took him again in January after Grandma died because he hadn't been eating at all for like days. And the vet told me that I should get ready to put him down because his liver numbers were out of control and at his age, doesn't look good. And I was like, okay. And I came home and I said, Memo, I promise you we're never gonna go back to the vet again. And lo and behold, he's held steady for 8 months after that. So kudos to you, Memo dear, for staying around. Cheers. Hi. Hi. What you doing? Yeah. You want to say something to the people? Oh, is the kitchen floor dirty? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, I didn't peel it yet. I was hoping we could peel it together, or maybe I could leave it on there for like 2 years like all Asians do. Babe. What was that? What was that meow? Are you singing? Are you hungry? You still have food out. Do you want a treat? Oh, I'm sorry. The kitchen floor is so dirty. Shaking your paw-paw. What do you think? What a cutie. You want to see? Hi. Look at those little squeaks. What a cutie little squeak. Okay. I'll clean the floors. Not now, but later. It's okay? Should I cook? Do you want me to cook? Oh, I can't possibly cook while you're inspecting. Are you looking at your reflection on the dishwasher? That's you. It's a shiny dishwasher. That's you though. Yeah, look at you. So handsome. So beautiful. What a little darling. Are you thinking about jumping up there? You've never jumped up there. Do you wanna? You might break the bowl if you do. This is the kitty intermission. Well, I'm gonna sit. Come here. Come. Yeah. yesterday, didn't you? Yeah, it was really strong. It was a really strong poop. I came back from Lidl and I was like, oh my god, my apartment smells like shit. Am I really that gross? And then, nope, I saw the litter box and you had pooped. You pooped big. Yeah. Hi. He eats sometimes. Do you want to keep me company? Do you want to sit on your mat? I have your mat over there. Do you want a chair? You don't ever jump up that high. Should I bring your cat tree in here? Would you like one cat tree in here? Yeah? Maybe? Okay, baby, I have to cook. I'm sorry, I'm so hungry. What, here? I'll leave this mat here for you. You can sit here and watch me, okay? Sit. Sit and watch me. All right, I'm fading. I got to cook. As I was saying, we have some leftover veggies. So I impulse bought some Thai basil, which is now fully dried, unfortunately. So this should all go into the soup because it's obviously dying and begging to be used. I will eat one dry leaf and see what it tastes like. Fragrant, floral, and kind of spicy. We have some Japanese turnips that can go in the soup as well. And we have some really old, really sad shiso leaves that can go in with the basil. And I'm gonna put in some of our Phalaenopsis lanceolata, that is in the freezer. Don't get scared. Opening the freezer. Still there. Very good. And we have some fake crab. Maybe we can put some fake crab in there. I don't know. Could be good. Could be delicious. Lanceolata. Phalaenopsis lanceolata. I found this at H Mart. If you haven't seen me use this before on a live, you've missed at least 4 lives. But yeah, it's a kind of white tuber that apparently has some slight medicinal purposes. Good for clearing the lungs and whatnot. Hoping that it could help with some long COVID issues. Kind of tastes like a more medicinal parsnip. This one is very frostbitten, but you can see it looks like a white carrot. Wow, it is incredibly frostbitten. Look at that. Looks like an ice pack. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but Memo's been sleeping next to my head like 5 days out of 7. I often wake up with a neck cramp because he's like right there bumping against the top of my head. This morning he actually started using me as a pillow, and it was a beautiful thing. It felt like a little 2-pound weight on my head. It felt very therapeutic. And I think for a period of time he was purring while he was using me as a pillow, so that felt very nice. It's my cat therapy time. Do you like being the center of attention? I'm going to go ahead and rinse these off. Here is the noodle. It comes with a seasoning packet, I believe, and 2 packets of noodle. So these are the broth packets. I think clear, very clear broth packets. And then cognac noodles or shirataki with a little bit of chickpea. Best by October 5th, but this package was Best by September 5th. So a month off. We're gonna use one of these packets because just one of these packets has 64% sodium. I'll save that for another time. Oh, hi. You got very close. Do you want to smell these things? Hi, baby. Hi. his meows make me so sad sometimes. They sound heartbreaking. Oh, you think he wants food? Okay. Alright. What do you want, babes? Let's feed you first. What do you want? You want a lolly? Because you have food. You want a lolly? He didn't eat the rest of that dried seafood, believe it or not. Yes, rip up my mattress. Rip it up. Can you back up a little bit? Yes, thank you. Tuna flakes all on my bed and floor. I'm starving, y'all. You liking it? You're making me hungry. Can I have some? Can we share the lolly? I've given this lolly to other cats. They don't seem to love it as much as he does. So your mileage may vary. Oh, okay. Ready? My entire bed is his plate. This is how cat lady I've gotten over the last year. It's incredible how tame he's gotten me. You got me so tame. What the fuck? What the fuck? 8 pounds of fur. That's it. We're done. I bet this is gonna fuck your poop up tomorrow. Yeah? Your poop looked good today because we didn't have a lolly yesterday. Are you done? You're just gonna leave? Okay, bye furry butt. Well, I'm gonna go wash my hands and throw this out. Give me 1 minute. We're down. I'm down to like 9% personal battery now. Oh. Hey. I'm so tempted to not even cook right now, but I just know that if I don't cook that, I'll never cook it. Because I sure have a lot of things I could be eating. I bake cornbread, I still have my rye bread. Check this out. This new little lamp, it was on my building's free table. Isn't that great? I've been wanting a lamp so that I can avoid overhead stuff. There's another one here with an LED that could be good for shooting food. So thank you to my neighbor, whoever put those out. Okay. Thanks for the cat interlude, Grace. I'm going to put this in the pot and start cooking everything. Are there instructions? Rinse shirataki noodle well in cold running water for 1 to 2 minutes. Drain excess water and place them in a bowl. Pour radish kimchi broth over. So this is supposed to be totally cold. I'm going to serve it warmed up because I want to cook all of these things into it. But let us rinse this out then. Gonna use my thrifted Korean bowl. Here's what the noodle looks like. just gonna let it soak in some water. Put this heat on. I don't know, have you guys noticed this? My Con Ed has increased and my National Grid has increased. My usage has not gone up at all. But my electric bill without AC, just a normal month of me using mostly my computer, my phone, my lights, my fridge, is about $77 to $80. That's like a normal month now for me. And my National Grid, which I haven't been cooking a lot because it's summer, has gone up from like 18 to 20 to 24 to 26. I didn't peel these turnips. They're baby Japanese turnips from the farmer's market. Very sweet for the most part. Gives me the worst farts, but since Memo has already like poop bombed the entire apartment, did I mention this is sweet Thai basil? It's not really like technically sweet. I feel like the Italian basil is sweeter, but it is very, very fragrant and floral. The stems are less edible. Feel like the Italian version is way more chewable. This one is very fibrous. probably doing it a disservice by just cooking it straight. I feel like this would have been way better in a stir fry probs. Look who's back. You think he's still hungry? You still have food, babes. Do you think he wants some imitation crab? Is this what you're after? Yeah? Individually packaged. Let's see if it can fit into this container. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. What a perfect fit. My goodness. This is the box of buns that Erin bought and brought for Grandma. I think maybe just 2 or 3 months before she passed, he came to visit her and brought her a lot of steamed buns from Chinatown. And as you know, I just keep the containers, and hurts me a little bit every time I use this, but it also makes me very grateful to remember that, you know, Erin came and visited her and she got to enjoy some buns that she otherwise wouldn't have enjoyed. And those buns really carried her until the end of her life, honestly. I think she got a little sick of them by the end. But I also think she had reached a point where probably just eating food was tough. He's even said to me since then that he feels guilty that he hadn't come see her more, and I was like, bro, you did so much more than anyone else did, and just thank you for coming, period, and bringing her buns. Huge. I'm gonna eat 3 of these. I'm gonna rinse them and microwave them. mostly because they kind of get really soggy and fall apart if I were to throw them and boil them. So I'm just gonna microwave them. Three sticks is about 1 cup. The last few years have been me learning about how even people who really care about you can't show up for you exactly in the ways you need and all the times you need them. And just because they don't show up in all the times doesn't mean that they don't care. We just all have our limits. And that also gives me the room to take grace with myself and my own capabilities of showing up for other people. Especially because my mom did way too much, you know, so I think unconsciously she set an example that is impossible to really uphold in a sustainable way. Also, imitation crab is already cooked, but like my mom's philosophy is even if it's cooked, you don't know what kind of manufacturing processes these go through. You don't know how sanitary those conditions are. Like technically I could have just unwrapped it and put it in my mouth, but you know, that's also how people get food poisoning sometimes. There's E. coli and salmonella recalls, and there's pollock meat, sugar, sorbitol, wheat starch, monosodium glutamate, soy protein, soybean oil, crab extract, crab flavor, glycine, calcium carbonate, sodium polyphosphate, and natural color. So definitely not the most healthy thing for me to eat, and also very high in sodium. 0% protein? Is that real? Whatever. Do you want to try one? Break them up a little bit. He probably won't touch it, but I just want to make sure he feels included. He's like sniffing it. He's like, what the fuck is this? Oh, is he eating it? Are you sniffing it? Are you licking it? He's whacking it. He's like, what? That was funny. Yes, I know Memo is bored, and yes, I've gotten him hundreds of dollars of new food. And you know, switching out his diet is also bad for his poops. Some of his favorite treats are terrible. Like he has runny diarrhea the next day with like little strains of blood in the excrement. So it's just I'm playing this very tricky game of like what will he eat? What will be happy for him to eat? What will not hurt him? Um, it's a lot of trial and error. So this week I've just been playing it safe. You know, I've been sticking to. He does eventually, when he gets hungry enough, eat the food that he doesn't like love. But the food that he doesn't love is also the food that doesn't make him poop blood. So. Trade-offs. Also, he's not a big fan of crab. I got him True treats that have shrimp and crab in them, and he doesn't touch those. I had to give them away. I gave away like $40 worth of churro because they came in a multi-pack with crab and shrimp, and he didn't like them. Hello. Welcome on your return to our lives. Okay, I'll take it away. I think he licked it, but he didn't eat it. He's like sitting in the shadows over there. I don't know if you can see him, but he's there. I feel like every time I open a new seafoody thing and he hears the crinkling bag, he comes over and he's like, "What you having?" And then he'll sniff it, and he might even lick it, but he usually doesn't end up eating it. This broth is so flavorful that radish is like fully seasoned. So I'm almost wondering if I should just eat the vegetables cooked in the broth and save the broth for another cooking with vegetables so that I dilute the sodium a little bit, given my various health needs. And also that imitation crab has quite a lot of sodium as well. So, right. This is my dinner. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to eat, y'all. I'm so sleepy. Let's see if I can get you closer to me. I'm gonna put out my vitamins, magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin C, fish oil. I've been alternating my B12 and my magnesium, so I take them every other day. You can look good with short hair. The first time I had short hair was almost 10 years ago. I was looking back at photos. I might post a 10-year retrospective on my Instagram. It's very funny that it's been a decade since my last time with short hair. But the first time, a decade ago when I had short hair, I got called sir by like a lot of people. Bus drivers, cashiers. I think I told this story before. It remains one of the most hilarious moments in my life where I was checking out at Calustian's. It's like a specialty spice and food ingredient store, and this lady did not know what gender I was because of my hair, and she kept switching back between ma'am and sir in addressing me. And I was just like, it was pretty funny. I was like, it's okay. Yes, thank you. And then I just did the transaction and I left. One of the most awkward moments in my life for sure. Okay. Bon appetit. Let's see how this tastes. Oh, you came back, babes. You came back. You came back. Ow. Yeah. This isn't Fred. This is a different cat. He's offended. He's offended. Fred is with Aaron now. Gladys, I don't know how long you've been gone, but I adopted Memo last summer. I was shocked the first few times I got misgendered, and then I was like, this kind of rocks. Like, yes, call me sir. I can be a sir. I can get used to this. I'm sure he is hungry, but he has 4 bowls of dry food, 2 on one bed, 2 on the other bed, and half a can of wet food still out for him. And we just fed him a lolly. He usually holds out until 9 p.m., at which point he'll resort to eating the food that's already out. I gave him a churro already today as well. He didn't finish licking it. So, no clean bowl, no second churro. The noodles are bouncy. You kind of have to cut them with your teeth so you could say they're chewy. But they're not like a glutinous chewy. You can see. If you've ever had jellyfish, it's got the kind of almost like slight soft crunch to it, but not quite crunch. It's a really hard texture to describe. I think you'll just have to try to eat it. Cognac jelly is sort of like a unmeltable jello. Does that make sense? Yeah, this is shirataki made of cognac and a little bit of chickpea flour apparently in their ingredients list. My dad and other friends have just been like, you just need to let him starve, because I've been basically trying for a year to cater to his very particular taste and food rejections, and I've reached the point of financial investment and food waste and just like personal exhaustion and stressing over his health condition of like what food is actually good for his body versus what food is not going to have a good reaction on his body, that I've just been like, if he doesn't eat for 24 hours, that's when I'll try to, cater to his taste a little bit more. But if it's only been 12 hours, I'll just wait it out and see if he gets hungry enough to eat, because he eats very little and shits a lot. I don't know what happens inside his body, but he'll eat like this amount of food, right? Like 3 tablespoons of food. And then his poop will be like double. And I'm like, where did that come from? So he'll be good, I think, because he's lasted, almost 9 months now beyond what the vet said to expect. So I'm just going to keep monitoring him, and I'm going to keep petting him, and I'll keep being his pillow, and as long as he's purring with me every day, then I think we're good. Memo is not losing weight. He's always been skinny. I've always been able to feel every single vertebra. And I remember when the foster dropped him off, she was like, is he skinny? Do you think he's skinny? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. I can feel all his bones. But he hasn't gotten skinnier, I don't think. It's hard to tell though. He's been wavering between 7 and 8 pounds. And as you probably saw, he's not like a small boy. His frame is, I would say, average or even slightly bigger than some cats. You look so sad over there, babes. Aww. Hi. What would you like? You don't want to sit on your mat? Your mat's cozy. The kitchen floor is cold and dirty. Alright. Sometimes he just wants to be next to me. Like, I'll be falling asleep on my yoga mat because I got too tired to finish any stretch session. And then he'll just come over and he'll plop. He'll plop real hard on my skull. He's very smart. He'll stay alert on birds on TV for like 4 minutes and then he'll lose interest. I'll try to play with him with a little fishing pole toy and he'll lose interest very fast because he can see I'm holding it. I played with him for 2 days on the laser pointer and then he saw that it was coming out of my hand and he lost interest. So I look happier now? That's great. When was the last time you saw me live? Do you remember? Because this last year has been like a wild trip on my health. I've been really weakened by long COVID and a mono infection last summer, and so a lot of my autoimmune diseases are probably flaring. Been dealing with a lot of joint pain. He's sniffing out the cart now. You're a little funny guy. So yeah, I don't know how long it's been since you've last been here. But Grandma passed away in January. I don't know if you were around when I was taking care of Grandma. He gets zoomies sometimes after he poops. Sometimes. to the dark. I have so many toys for him in the living room. He doesn't play with any of them. I bought him a tunnel. Aaron gave me like a little feather wand automated thing that whips around with like balls that go in the rinks. He doesn't play with it. He gets scared when I turn it on sometimes. The evidence in the body for long COVID is made with biomarkers. They inject you with a fluid that is like fluorescent on some scans, and they see where the markers go, and basically long COVID affects all parts of your body. People think of COVID as like a respiratory disease, but it's not. It's really kind of like HIV/AIDS. It infiltrates your immune system. The COVID virus basically has a biomarker that it's been attaching to all of your healthy cells, so that your autoimmune system, or rather your immune system, will pick up on the biomarker and flag your healthy cells as cells they should attack because it has the COVID biomarker on it. So that's why there's a lot of autoimmune disease now in the framework of long COVID. People who are autoimmune compromised before probably have it worse. I have had autoimmune kidney disease in my childhood. I've had other less serious autoimmune stuff like, eczema and stuff. So I think it's just kind of causing a lot of pain in my body because my body is really just eating itself. So that's why the idea that COVID is like flu is not accurate, right? Because it may feel like the flu when you're symptomatic during your infection, but the post-viral effects of COVID is very different from having the flu. I still want to fly back with Grandma's ashes, but for me to get a visa back to China is very complicated because as a Chinese-born naturalized American citizen, I have to find my birth certificate, which I don't know where it is. That would have been a Chinese birth certificate. I would need my my naturalization papers when I became a U.S. citizen. I would need birth certificate and naturalization papers for both my parents, on top of other documents, including my last U.S. passport with a Chinese visa, which I don't have anymore because that passport expired and I have a new one. So there is apparently a 10-day visa-free travel policy now in China, as long as you pass through China and proceed onto a third country. So I could plan a trip next year when hopefully my health is a little more restored, to fly into Beijing, stay only in Beijing because I can't travel outside of the spot in China that I land. I have to stay within that province, and hand off the ashes, say hi to my family, and then like maybe take a trip to Japan or take a trip through Korea or some other part of Asia, or come back through Canada, maybe go to Montreal. I need to eat one of those bagels before I die, and then come back. And that should apparently get me through China without a visa. But you never know. Like I feel like I could fly there 18 hours and then land, and then they're like, no, we can't let you in. And then what? And then I fly back to the US empty-handed or full-handed with Grandma's ashes, and then I just like, DHL it back to China. It's hard, right? I'm also thinking about how this administration is like cracking down on everyone's phone at the border. I don't know what's going to happen anymore. Yeah, Gladys, well, welcome back. Yeah, you've been gone for a lot of sadness, but Sorry I'm putting my leg up this way. My right hip joint hurts a lot, so I just keep switching it up. But I think while it's sad that grandma passed away, I think it's a relief on both me and her. I think she was really struggling with her end of life the last year that she was alive. She started going a little insane, I think, the February before she passed away, and she started belting out mournful songs to the sky to take her back to her family, and it was just really heartbreaking and stressful, and her health declined really fast the last 6 months, and I think it's hard to watch someone die, and there's always this room of like, oh, I should have done that better, I could have done that better, I should have gotten her this when she asked for it, I shouldn't have been so short with her, but I think at the end of the day, it's just not fun to watch someone wither end of life. And I'm honestly just glad that it's over, and I'm glad that she hopefully is at peace. Yeah, it's been a wild time. I just realized I should put that yogurt in the fridge. I got 3 tubs of yogurt from Lidl. I love this yogurt. It's $3.50 each for those tubs of yogurt. Doc, I think you tagged the wrong user in your comment about the granddaughter. Hopefully Gladys's granddaughter is okay if Gladys has a granddaughter. But yeah, I set aside 2 hours to walk the entire store of Lidl, and I don't know if you saw my video about Lidl. I don't think the prices there are great across the board. The fresh produce, the vegetables, for example, are not good deals. But I did get 2 avocados today for 69 cents each. And I like their canned fish. They have a lot of varieties of canned fish for pretty reasonable prices. I got 4 tins of sardine for $3 today. That was on sale. And some mackerel fillets for $1.50 each. And some herring fillets for $1.50 each. The mackerel is like half the size of the herring, so I guess mackerel is a more expensive fish than herring. Or sorry, herring is mackerel is, oh my god, my brain. Anyway, that haul that you saw on the counter of this kitchen cart was $25. Oh, I hear him eating kibble. He's chomping away at kibble. So he'll eat it, The sounds of Memo eating nourish my soul. I think because I have this like stressed out mom burner in my soul, just worrying about him the way that my mom worried about me. So every time he eats, I'm just like, yes, oh my god, relief. I can't imagine being a mom to a real human being. Must be tough. Have you shared any thoughts about the events that happened this past week? No. Some guy got shot. Great. And then there was a school shooting. It's just America, right? I remember still over a decade ago, a dozen years ago, Sandy Hook happened. All those kids got shot. We still couldn't pass gun legislation. Well, fuck it then, right? Let this country burn. Whatever. This is why I am really sad and exhausted, because I'm just on edge all the time, like probably most people in this country are, regarding what this whole administration is doing. But at the point of the election, I knew that the Biden-Harris campaign and administration were not going to do any better with Gaza. And if that's the way that they're going to treat humans abroad, then that's the way that they were going to treat Americans here anyway. So we're just seeing an acceleration of the cancer that is America's own sins on itself. This country is founded on rape and pillage, of indiscriminate killing of both man and animal and land. And the fruits of these sins, seeded centuries ago, are now in waves of just violence. It's just, we have to reap what we sow, right? This is the way the country has always been. What am I supposed to say anymore? We've been doing this ever since this country started. So, like, I saw the headline and I was like, okay, great. We just spent 2 years watching kids, families, everybody die, right? Why does this one guy get all this airtime? Who the fuck gives a shit? None of the names that got blasted to pieces by the bombs that this country funded got a fraction of the airtime. Even Aaron Bushnell didn't get a fraction of the airtime for setting himself on fire to raise awareness about the killings in Gaza. So, yeah, my feelings are, who gives a shit anymore? Literally nobody gives a shit, right? We didn't give a shit enough about the genocide that is still ongoing now to actually make any changes in the material lives of the people being shattered. So, I have no shits left to give for someone who got shot because he spewed whatever he wanted to. Okay, great. This is a country that doesn't care about kids getting shot. This is a country that also funds kids getting killed. Like, this is a country that has no moral conscience. It never has, and it's been historically better at lying about its real agenda than it has been currently. But this has always been the agenda. So what, they're gonna feel bad because this guy with more prominence got assassinated? How many activists have been assassinated in the history of this country, fighting for the rights of people? Also, like, wasn't the shooter a great distance away? That's probably a trained marksman, right? Like, I'm still not convinced that Luigi is the assassin that killed the CEO. Do we know if who they say is the shooter is a shooter? Like, are we getting the full story? I don't think we're getting the full story. I don't think we've been getting the whole story. But I would say, expect to not ever know the real story. Yeah. Valeria said they just want to whip up anger using a man's death as an excuse. I think that's right. Kind of like how Swarthmore College wanted a photo of us alumni hanging out in the park. For what use? You know? The guy got shot. Who knows? Who knows who's behind his killing? Who knows what possible agenda could have been behind this killing? Who knows if there was further, deeper orchestration of this man's death? For what purpose? You know? None of us know. I would like us to look a little bit deeper than what we think we see, than what we have been presented and allowed to see. This is really satisfying. It's got sweet, it's got salt, it's got umami, it's got crunch, it's got herbiness from the basil. It's like a great trash dinner. I have not heard about a Ukrainian person being stabbed on the subway. Wow. But now I've run out of noodles. Maybe I should go ahead and eat that other bag now. Yeah, the cart still has its protective film. It's a stainless steel cover over a wood block. I haven't peeled it off yet. I just finished assembling the kitchen cart like 2 days ago. So I'm just gonna leave it on there for a couple more days, I think. I eventually will probably peel it off. But, you know, it took me like a year to peel off the film on my microwave. It's like such an Asian move. I grew up with parents who never peeled off the plastic on stuff. goodness, I'm so happy to be eating. Be sure to live stream the peeling. What if I gave you a little bit? This feels like peeling off my tattoo, second skin. Okay, that's all you get. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. I just want to eat and sit and wait for my hip joint to not hurt. There are whole videos of like people peeling off stuff. I feel like this is kind of Aaron's porn. He loves watching people peel off the plastic. Let me show you how ridiculous this kitchen card is. It looks pretty decent, right? Just don't look too closely. Okay, because you see this door. This door is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. But this door doesn't actually open. It's stuck because it's at an angle. I could not screw on the hinge so that the door fit into its frame perfectly. So I have to pull it open like this. It doesn't actually close because this part is too long. There's a huge gap on top here. It's flush. It's flush over here. And I screwed it on and I screwed it off and I re-screwed it so that it's flush here. But there's a gap here. So it's like warped. I couldn't get the frame to fit perfectly. Maybe it's a skill issue, but it just... So then I have to lift it and push it through. And now it looks in, but I also didn't do a great job because this magnet needs to be out more to actually make contact with this part to close. But it doesn't matter because the door doesn't actually close on its own. So that's the biggest issue. The other issues don't matter, but this is flush, right? The countertop where it meets the bottom cart, this is flush. But there was no amount of screwing I could get to get this flush. And you see this gap here. There's like a 1/2 centimeter gap here, or like a 3/4 centimeter gap here. And there's a nail in the back of this that I couldn't screw all the way in, no matter how hard I tried. And that's how I sprained my wrist, is because some things just refuse to go in. But, you know, I did it. I put it together, which is, go me, I think. Go me, I think. No, it was from a place called Ita Home, like YITA Home. It was on sale, and now we know why. You think that's a safety feature? I feel like this door should be able to, especially because it had the magnetic closures, that it should be able to slide into the frame. It shouldn't be off angle like this. I don't know. Maybe I could have done a better job installing it, but I already unscrewed it and re-screwed it, and I was like, if I unscrew it and re-screw it one more time, there's going to be like no place in the wood for the screws to hold on to anymore, because I'll just keep creating screw holes. Anyway, I gave in. I was like, perfection is not the agenda today. The agenda today is, you did it. We did it. You know, lots of things would have driven me crazy about my life now had it all happened to me 4 years ago, but the last 4 years, life has really, really smoothed me out a lot. I'm not totally smooth, but I'm smoother, way smoother. I think I would have like freaked out and melted down at every little thing that went wrong, but I now know that perfection is a deadly sin sometimes, against yourself and your well-being. It's true. You always do notice more imperfections when you do it yourself. And that's why we're so hard on ourselves. Nobody else sees this shit. I mean, I didn't see how poorly assembled these cabinets were until like months moving in. And I was like, oh, the screws are not in the right place. I hope nothing falls. Every day I walk into the kitchen, I'm like, please let me know if you're about to fall, because I cannot have all these plates crashing to the floor at the same time. If I don't get injured, I would still lose my mind. But there was like screw holes that they unscrewed and re-screwed into other spots. I don't know what went on in this construction. There's like nails hanging up above the cabinets. So if I didn't tell you guys this, you would have been like, great job, June. It looks wonderful. And it does, until I show you that the door doesn't close. And that's the reality of most media and social media that we get these days. We only see the finished product. I do love this shit. I do love this shit a lot. I'm excited that I bought the kabocha squash today because I don't think I've bought it in a long time. I think maybe Grandma was still alive the last time I bought it. Well, I did buy a small one from the farmer's market, but not from the Chinese market like today. The farmer's market one tasted good, but like not great. I think this one's gonna be good. Looks like there's a little syrup oozing out. It's probably really ripe. I should probably cook it soon. But that baby was 39 cents a pound, and it was 4 1/4 pounds, so that whole squash was $1.65. What a steal. I got sardines smoked in oil. I got mackerel fillets in olive oil and mackerel fillets in tomato sauce. And then I thought it was cheap to get it in the 3-pack because it was 3-pack for $5, but then these are only $1.50. So I was like, oh, this is actually cheaper. So I bought tomato sauce, which I know I like. Then I bought a tomato and mango chutney one, which I haven't had, and a bell pepper sauce one. So I got more flavors for less money. And then these pears were 5 for $1, so I got $3 worth. I got 15 pears. Hopefully some of them will ripen, and if not, I'll just eat them like crunchies. And And then I got pretty hard avocados. Hopefully they'll soften a little bit. I just finished eating one yesterday, so I'm good to not eat it immediately. I hope these are good, but 69 cents from Lidl. And including the yogurts that you saw me put away, that whole haul was $25. It was $24.95. I was like, what am I doing? Is this an episode of Budget Eats? It's really strange when I was walking home and I was like, I just spent almost $25 exactly. Yeah, Hawaiian Flamingo, I thought about it, but unlikely. It's fine. I'll live with this door. Honestly, even if I couldn't get this door on, this kitchen cart would have been usable. Just a little less aesthetic, but it's functional, and that's all I care about at this point. I essentially, for all of my troubles, got it for free because I got my full refund after missing parts and broken parts and having to glue shit together and buy parts for it. So, you know, I salvaged it wonderfully. Best case scenario, honestly. I learned a lot of stuff putting this together and learned to never buy cheap shit again like this. I mostly bought it because of 4 reasons. 1, it was a really great deal. 2, I've always wanted a kitchen cart like this ever since I moved in. I just never found the right one for the right price. And I wanted to buy a secondhand for the longest time, but I couldn't find anything on time. It would always get snatched up by other people. 3, it's my birthday month, so I was like, oh, let me splurge a little bit. And 4, I've honestly donated more money this year than I've spent on myself, which is fine, it's great, but I think a consumer capitalist part of me was just like, June, you're donating all this money to other people, like buy yourself something. And I was like, oh, all 3 factors combined, let's pull the trigger on this. And they shipped it out so fast that I couldn't even like go back the next day and cancel it. They had already shipped it out within 24 hours, which was insane how fast they shipped it out. It was like Amazon speed. And it got here within 4 days of me pressing order. So the shipping was super fast too. I don't know how they managed that. And the box arrived perfectly at my doorstep. I'm on the 3rd floor. I don't know if it was my neighbor who brought it up or the delivery person who brought it up, but whoever brought it up, thank you, because I was really worried I wouldn't be able to pull that into my apartment from the ground floor by myself. So all things considered, this last week has been a whirlwind of emotions due to this decision of buying a kitchen cart that was way too cheap and good to be true. I learned a lot. I've become oddly more optimistic over the last few years. I don't know how or why. But I think I used to resent the fact that I felt like the world didn't work off of karma. Like I felt like evil people weren't getting their punishment and good people were suffering for no reason. And lately I've been thinking that I feel like karma exists. It just doesn't happen on a timeline that's fast enough for us to perceive. But I don't know why. I feel like a part of me feels like karma is a part of the operations of the universe. maybe just not according to a logic that feels simple enough to be reasonable or logical. Maybe that's how religions come about, belief in gods that you can't actually touch and see and talk to. It's about to be Mid-Autumn Festival. It's gonna be a really bittersweet time. This is gonna be the first holiday cycle with neither mom nor grandma. So I'm expecting either a growth in emotional stabilization skills for myself, or a really soggy time. Or maybe both, who knows. I think you might have to go through both. It's already 8:18 p.m. Wow. Alright, well, my energy is pretty flaggy today. I don't think I'm gonna rebound anytime soon. Unfortunately. And I don't have a lot of stuff in the fridge to meal prep either, but I do have a lot of frozen peas. I have a bag of frozen corn. I was hoping to eat it frozen during the summer, but summer's gone now. So now I should cook it. Ooh, frozen peas. Let's see what the farmer's market holds in store for us tomorrow. I'm actually going into Manhattan tomorrow night to see my friend Daisuke perform. He's been taking improv classes, so I'm gonna go catch his class project of sorts. They have a performance because it's sort of like the conclusion of their workshop. That's gonna be exciting. So I likely won't be going live tomorrow. Hi, Holly. I don't think I will be buying myself mooncakes. Other people might give them to me. I don't like mooncakes anymore because I live by myself and I don't have anyone to share them with. And I feel like the whole point of mooncakes is you get to share them with people, because if you get the full-size mooncakes, they're pretty rich. And I always like sampling different flavors with people, and it used to be me and mom sampling them and her giving them to me and me trying it out with Aaron, and now I get mooncakes and I'm like the only one to eat them, and it just feels awful. It feels awful both because they're super dense, super fatty and sugary, and awful because emotionally it just reminds me of oh, I have no one to share this with. I've been thinking about making them myself. Last year I couldn't do it because I was so stressed and had so little energy. And this year I think I'm not as stressed, and I've gotten used to being low energy enough that I could probably space it out over a week. So it's possible. I could make mooncakes. I could buy myself some fancy Rancho Gordo beans again and make a white bean paste instead of a mung bean paste for a twist. That could be fun. What flavors of mooncakes do you guys like? Let me see what ingredients I have. Should we make a poppy seed filling? I have a lot of poppy seeds. And I have a lot of jujubes. We could make a jujube one. I have nuts too. I don't have black sesame anymore. I ate it. But I have some white sesame. And good memory, I did make them a couple of years ago and I shared them with friends. That was before my long COVID was really awful. Karen, I hope you get to try mooncake sometimes. Just note that the flavors are extremely different and one might be very off-putting, but you might find another style that is more appetizing. There's so many different crusts and skins. There's a snow skin one that's like a little more mochi-like. There's a traditional pastry that's a little bit more pound cakey and bready. There's a more traditional one that is popular in the southern provinces that is like a laminated crust, so it's like super flaky and light. So there's a lot of varieties out there. There's mooncakes with meat in them, and they're savory and salty. There's mooncakes that are sweet. There's mooncakes that are sweet with a salty cured duck egg yolk, which are my favorite. So there's a lot. I do hope you get to try a mooncake. They're certainly an experience. And Doc, cheers to making a peach cobbler June style. I'm honored that you called it June style. Baking without a recipe, right? It's like such a rebel thing to do because I feel like I grew up under this dictate that cooking you can wing, but you can't wing baking. And I was under that spell for so long. Like I was indoctrinated with this thought that like you must follow a recipe when baking. And then the day I discovered that you don't actually need to follow a recipe for baking, you just need to open up your expectations to include results that are slightly different than what you expected. That's when my brain was like, oh, these are lies. These are half lies that are actually full lies. Mooncake is not like a bread. I would say it's almost like a fudge. It's so dense. It cuts like a fudge, but there's no chocolate usually, traditionally involved. It's just a lot of fat and sugar condensed into a fudgy puck. And the puck can be enveloped by a cookie layer, by a flaky layer, by a snow skin layer, but it's essentially like a fudge puck. And you cut it like a cake. You cut it into like sections so that you can share it because it's just so dense. Calorically dense. It turns into like a thick fudge in your mouth as you chew on it too, depending on the type that you have. My mom, biggest fan of the flaky layers. Ooh, I mean, I'll eat a durian mooncake for sure. And the Taiwanese ones sound perfect because the salted duck egg yolk is possibly my favorite part, but it's made so orgasmically good by the sweet filling around it. and then you add in a little bit of that blander crust. Ugh, mooncakes. I was walking in the Chinese store today and I saw all these mooncakes already on sale, and I was like going into Dwayne Reed and I saw all these Halloween candies being in stock already, and I was like, wait a minute. Mooncakes are to Mid-Autumn Festival as Halloween candy is to Halloween. You can't have either of these holidays without the candy or the mooncakes. Like, they just wouldn't feel the same, right? I feel like these holidays are very centered around these dominant food items. And I realized also that I never liked Halloween, but I always looked forward to Mid-Autumn Festival because that meant that I got to share mooncakes with my mom. So Mid-Autumn Festival is kind of my Halloween. I think as a Chinese immigrant, I was so scared by Halloween the first time when I went into school and saw all these monsters. Nobody had explained the holiday to me beforehand, so I was just like walking in a nightmare for the whole day. I think I never like pulled out of that shock, and I never grew up with the tradition. I was like, this is a really demented holiday. Like, why is everybody dressed up so scary? So I think Mid-Autumn Festival is my Halloween, and mooncakes are my Halloween candy. And that was a fun realization to have on a Saturday, walking in a Chinese supermarket thinking about my mom. You can look up mooncakes delish. Maybe put my name, June, in there, search it, because I made a recipe for delish and that's still the recipe that I follow. Mooncakes are a very long process. It's not something I can make in 2 hours or 3 or even 4. It takes days, honestly, because each filling takes a few hours to make. You have to cook the beans. Then you have to kind of like stir fry the beans with oil and sugar so that it turns into like a gummy paste. You have to let that cool. Once that cools, you have to portion it into balls. You should acquire salted egg yolks from a grocery store unless you plan on being really masochistic and making them yourselves, in which case that takes days and weeks to cure. And then making the pastry crust is a whole other project. And you also have to wait for that to cool and shape into portions, and then you have to wrap the filling with the crust and then flatten it with a plastic mold if you want the mooncake shape. Then you have to brush it with an egg yolk, wash, bake it for 10 minutes, take it out, egg wash it again, bake it for 10 minutes, take it out, and possibly bake it a third time. And then you have to let it cool, and for optimal taste, you have to let it cool to room temp and then seal them in an airtight container or slightly ajar so that they don't so dry out, but also don't trap all the moisture. You have to let them sit for 2 days before you eat them, because 2 days in my testing is how long it took for the pastry crust to absorb some of the moisture from the filling so that the whole thing has a cohesive bite when you bite into it. You don't want the pastry to fall apart and flake all the way off. And you also don't want like a super wet, mushy filling center. You want it to have like a more distributed moisture content throughout the whole thing. So usually a standard 2-day rest in a mostly airtight container at room temperature is what it takes to get there. So it's like very tedious, and that's why mooncakes are so expensive. They require a lot of ingredients and also a lot of time and labor. I've made it on a live before. I'm pretty sure you can go to my channel and search in the search box in my channel, mooncakes. See if it pulls anything up. Because I actually used to title these lives with the content. But I also made like 6 flavors that year. I made a green tea one, I made a Nutella one, I made a black sesame one, I made a mung bean one, I made a lotus one, and some other one. Oh, coffee, Earl Grey. I remember these now. The coffee and the Earl Grey were my absolute favorites, for sure. Alright guys, thank you for joining me. I'm probably gonna snack on some snacks. I bought so many pretzels. I bought this bag of pretzels, 9 ounces from the Dollar Tree. And I've been dipping it into homemade nut butters. And it is like absolutely delicious. Much better than peanut butter pretzels that you buy in stores, because I feel like the peanut butter in some of those are so addictively seasoned, and when I eat these I can stop at 10, but when I eat a whole bag of peanut butter pretzels, sometimes I eat like 2/3 of a whole pound of them, and then I feel absolutely sick. Anyway, I'll go snack on these, and hopefully I'll join you next week or sometime when I have a little more energy. I made donkey rolls too. That was in Budget Eats. That was in the Budget Eats using my mom's pantry. That was the first episode of Budget Eats I did after she passed away. So yeah, a lot of cooking content is still up on the internet. It lives forever on the internet. I did a Lidl haul and an H Mart haul. Have you checked it out on my channel? Okay, bye. Thanks for joining. Have a good night.